4X gaming has certainly grown over the years. There are a good variety of titles with classics from Space Empires 4 and Alpha Centauri, which is my all-time favorite, to new titles such as Galactic Civilizations 3 and Stellaris. But what about this remake slash reboot slash sequel Master of Orion Conquer the Stars? Now, I haven't played any of the previous Master of Orion titles, which I heard were awesome, except for 3, but we will get to that one day. So I'm going to go into this game fresh to the series. First things first, let's pick a race from 10, which are all beautifully designed and animated. Props to the graphic designers. As expected, all races feature unique traits and characteristics with a short bio as well. I picked the Alkari since they look like badass hawks, and I assume their traits were good. You can also create your own race, but it's more or less copying the appearance of one and adding your own traits. I hope to see this expanded soon with unique appearances. Next is to set up the game. I made a huge mistake and set the galaxy to cluster. Don't do that. Either spiral or circle. You pick your opponents, size of the galaxy, victory conditions, fast or slow game, yada yada, etc, and you're good to go. Each race has their own intro video, which is nice to introduce you to the lore of Orion. And it's time to play Civilization 5, I mean Master of Orion. Seriously, if you've played Civ 5, it's almost copy and paste with reminders of giving orders to your fleet, setting production to your colonies, and setting your research. Moving around is set in these very defined paths. This is unfortunately a design choice that the developers have stuck with. While it is a streamlined approach to navigation, it ultimately limits your freedom of exploration. Once you make contact with another race, you'll notice the stellar voice acting. Great talents such as Mark Hamill, Michael Dorn, Troy Baker, and even Nolan North have all lended their voices to do a great job. Thumbs up to that. Overall, diplomacy is well done with a wide variety of options and treaties, but I felt that many of the races were very demanding early on. Once you started to grow and conquer, factions left and right will be willing to ally themselves with you. Not sure if this was intentional or just an AI flaw. When all the races are known, a council will take place. The two factions with the highest population are chosen as candidates, and a 2/3 vote is required for a diplomatic victory. They could have taken some cues from Alpha Centauri and added some decrees for elected officials instead of only one vote for diplomatic victory. The reason why I play 4X games is for the technology, and luckily research is very rewarding, especially the mid and late game tech where you get some powerful parts and buildings. I did notice that tech comes a bit too quick on standard settings, but it wasn't anything major. Certain techs give you a choice between what benefit to receive, unless you have the creative trait which gives you both. The problem I have is you'll quickly realize which upgrade to choose, since many of the choices either do the same thing or are very easy decisions. The tech tree is nice and large, but what if it had something like this? A sprawling behemoth found in Beyond Earth. That would have been awesome and added some much needed replay value. Space pirates will be your first enemies, which aren't really that big of a threat at all, but you'll get your first taste of combat. I recommend you having your AI controlling the fleets, as well as you giving commands to make their micromanaging much easier. Instead of the traditional turn-based strategy combat from previous entries, Conquer the Stars opts for an RTS approach. You can pause combat to make decisions or just keep it on play, which is what I did. There's also a cinematic view, which is okay to watch the first few times, but that's about it. Large battles are really where the combat shines and fails at the same time. For one thing, the sound design and scale are certainly there, but the strategic depth is not at the same level. Sure, you can attempt to flank with frigates and direct fire with your larger craft, but that's really it. You can use formations for bonuses, but I rarely ever touch them. There was never really a need to do so. Plus, the camera is a bit wonky, as zooming in and zooming out just didn't feel natural. When the defenses of an enemy planet have been destroyed, you can bombard it or send marines to take it over. Unfortunately, there really is no ground combat to speak of. You just send in your troops and hope for the best. It could have been like XCOM or even Total War. A definite missed opportunity there. As expected, there is a ship designer to create your ideal craft. I don't really recommend doing this, as any technology you research is automatically applied on the current blueprints, so there really isn't a real need to do this. Plus, there's a lack of feedback on which parts over what you should pick. Finding the right planet is the key to success, which can be determined by size, biome, and minerals. Size determines population limit, biome is how easy the colony will grow, and minerals determine how quickly units and buildings can be made. Some also have unique bonuses like artifacts to boost research, and high gravity that hampers efficiency. Colony management is your standard fare. Assign people to food for growth, research to research, and production to produce. Colonies can also become polluted, which requires a cleanup for the planets. It doesn't really add anything in the way of interesting management, so it could have easily been left out, as all it does is slow down the game. Espionage is included, but it's honestly forgotten about. You get spies that you can assign to your own colonies or enemy ones, which can allow you to infiltrate the database, steal data, incite rebellions, poison food supplies, and a bunch more. While you can take this route if desired, it wasn't very involving, as everything was pretty much based on luck. Again, take some cues from Alpha Centauri. The Galactic News Network comes up every once in a while to let you know some random events like a virus spreading, a boost in research, a space monster, and a bunch more. Other times they come up to tell you how much better everyone is compared to you and how you should change the race you're playing as right now. I didn't mind this, as it kept me informed on what was going on in the galaxy and made things feel dynamic. The AI puts up a fair challenge as they expand as quickly as possible, conquering new planets as soon as they can. During my Pow3rh0use game, the Sakura developed nicely and were a legitimate threat early to mid-late game. After I won through diplomatic victory, I didn't really feel like starting another game right away, and the problem is easy to spot. There's only one way to play this game. The early game is key to late game success, and the only way to succeed early is to expand quickly and effectively. The Pow3rh0use easily exploit this, as they get a growth to population bonus, start with the biology tech, and can produce units and buildings better than most. Even though they do not have any bonuses to research, I still led in that category just because I can produce labs and more people quicker than anyone. And since they have high tolerance to pollution, there is barely any downtime when playing as them. By the end game, I ended up with these huge fleets of destruction, which is satisfying to see, but it was then I knew victory was only a matter of time. I could have easily won with military might, but if I can win through the console, I might as well. A bit of balancing for the races could have gone a long way, as I read online that certain factions are much better than others. To be fair, a lot of 4X games are guilty of this problem, even the glorified Alpha Centauri. Some bonuses also look promising until you play the game, like the Alkari and their increased beam damage. Missiles are easily the way to go, so that's pointless. The Xylem had the creative trait, but it isn't as powerful, as not many technologies offer a choice on what to pick. I haven't tested the multiplayer, but from what I understand, you need to be connected to the GOG Galaxy if you bought it from there, and also need to create an account as well. Some have reported issues with GOG Galaxy detecting the game, so be aware of that. So I might have been a bit harsh on this game, but it was actually enjoyable the whole way through. I would be lying if I said this was the best 4X game out there, but it is a solid title nonetheless, and for only $30, that's not bad at all. The overall presentation is superb, very polished code, and I'm looking forward to any future expansion packs. While it does lack in replay value for me, I can still recommend it, but only slightly, since the Zerg Rush playstyle might not be for everyone. Here's hoping to some worthwhile DLC and possibly a legitimate expansion to the game. And remember, the full extent of Civilization 5 wasn't built in one day. This is Pow3rh0use, signing off.